Hi, I'm Michelle Tennant. And so yesterday in one of my classes, a student asked for more recipes. So I wanted to share my favorite recipe that I'm doing during my 40-day challenge, one that I've noticed that I really look forward to when it's made in bulk and then in the fridge. When it's ready, I just take it out. It's chicken with spaghetti squash and tomatillo tomato sauce. And I've just noticed that it is of all of the things that I've made the past 9 days, I really look forward to it. So let me just start with some pictures. I'm going to share some pictures with you that I took while I was actually cooking. Okay. So I start with a large package of chicken breast that I get from Whole Foods because I like the organic variety of chickens. I don't like a bunch of junk in my meat. Okay, so then I take 2 pans because I'm cooking in bulk. I've preheated my oven to 350, and I've got these. I just take some onions and place them with some broth in the bottom of the pan. So here I am preheating the oven at 350. And this is a meat thermometer. This is, doesn't have any chicken on it, but what I want to do is get that chicken up to 165 at least. So here it is all ready to go. You can see my chicken broth from Whole Foods, and I've got the raw chicken that I've laid on top of the onions. Now I've taken some steak seasoning sauce, and the steak seasoning has just pure herbs in there. There's nothing, no junk, like the typical things that companies will put in there is MSG, monosodium glutamate, or they'll put things like oils. And those oils go rancid, and you don't really need those in your, so just make sure that your steak seasoning is clean. I like this Badia. Not all the Badia seasonings, though, are good to go. So just read your ingredients or make your own. So here it is ready. I'm just showing you here. Oh, there are, this is, I love this thing from Dolly. My accountability partner was like, girl, you are a diamond in a rhinestone world. And I was like, go Dolly. All right, you're gonna cover this in foil, and then you're gonna bake each of them until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees. At 350, it's gonna be about 45 minutes, but every oven's different, and then the size of your chicken matters. So just get a meat thermometer and check it. So there it is in the oven, they're cooking. Meanwhile, I'm gonna then prep my spaghetti squash. I got a pretty large one, and normally you're gonna do is, I don't like to cut a bunch of stuff, right? I like to make it as easy as possible. So normally you would do 400 degrees and then stab it really nice and deep, 8 to 12 times. But I'm trying to do them together. So I think what I did was I raised the temperature to 375 so that the chicken was okay. And then I also had something for the spaghetti squash. Here I've got parchment paper on a cookie sheet, in case it bleeds a little bit from the sap of the actual spaghetti squash. Oh, I did a lot of different pictures here. My apologies. Let's get through them. I'm showing also the depth of how much I stabbed it. Originally, I was thinking I would just post the pictures, but now I'm here. I'm just gonna, show you the pictures. This is my doggy. Okay. Let's see if I got you any other pictures of that meal. I might have to take a picture of the meal and then show it to you too. Oh, here we go. All right, here's at the end. Hold on, let me share the screen again. Okay, so you can see here that when I took it out at 45 degrees, it was 186. And you know what? It was really nice and tender. So it wasn't too tough. Sometimes if you get meat too hot, it'll get gross. But because I had that broth and the onions in the bottom, and because remember, there's no oil on this, it was so tender, you guys, so delicious. Okay. So then here's my spaghetti squash. I was watching Love is Blind while I did this, by the way. So in here, you're going to see in my Instapot, it's a 32 ounces of sauce. And then you're going to see some tomatillos that I just quartered and put in here. And then I've got some and I didn't even measure them, right? Just just like a handful. When I say a handful, like a tablespoon, maybe a teaspoon, depends on, I like things really tasty and like vibrant with flavor. So I'm going to err on more than less, right? Especially if it's just herbs. If it's salt, then you can back off just a bit. But you can see here I've put in white pepper, Himalayan salt, basil, and oregano. Here it is again, just some other, I mixed it up here. And you don't have to, you're going to put it in the Instapot or book it on the stove. Oh, I added here the balsamic vinegar just for a little like complimentary kick. I would normally cook with wine, but because we're in a releasing phase, you can also use that balsamic vinegar, which is also fine on this phase, but no oil. There's no oil in here. All right, let's see where we get to. Yeah, this is the just an example of the diced tomatoes, 28 ounces, 1 pound, just like a big can of tomatoes. Okay. I did put that Instapot in the Instapot for, I think I put it on soup. Like there's a setting for soup. If you didn't have a soup setting, just put it in a pressure cooker for 5 minutes. If you don't have a pressure cooker, just put it on the stove and let it heat up so the tomatillos and the tomatoes just kind of make a sauce. Okay. And you can just let it cook on slow until the rest of your stuff is done, just like you would a tomato sauce. All right. Now I'm pulling out the spaghetti squash now. Okay. Okay. And so I'm showing you here with the fork. So I removed the seeds with the spoon and I put it in a mason jar because I'm going to give those to my chickens. And then I just took the fork and made them in the spaghetti. The reason why it's called spaghetti squash is because it comes apart and it looks like spaghetti. So I just kind of use the fork to really break that all apart. It's really great that way. Then I set up my Pyrex containers and I'm going to create 8 meals out of this whole thing. You don't have to do 8. I'm going to measure, if you'd like to measure, just to kind of see what 5 ounces is like. In general, if you're doing a releasing program, 4 ounces of the vegetable protein, fruit is going to be on the low end. And then for men or athletes or higher end, people who are still working out heavily, then you can go to the higher protein amount, 6 or 7. You'll find what I typically do is go to 4. And if I'm losing really great, then I might, or I'm really hungry, I base it on what my body wants. And if I'm losing fine, then great. If I'm feeling hungry or it's not satisfying, then I might bump it up, or I've had a really big workout, I might bump it up to 5 or 6, but I'm still not having any oil during the health challenge only. Okay, so then once you get that measured out and you can kind of see what that looks like, then I assemble them into little containers. So you'll see here, I've got a piece of chicken, I got some of the onions, and I've got the spaghetti squash. Once the tomato sauce is done, I'm going to set it right here in the center. And this is the tomatoes with the tomatillos. And then that's it. That's really our, and then what I do is I put after this cools down, just so there's no plastic on your delicious food that's organic, make sure it cools down just a little bit. And then you can put your plastic container top on there. And then I store them in the refrigerator. And, they're going to last. These typically get eaten by my family within 5 days or so. I think you could, sometimes I've let it last up to a week, but you just want to smell it. And if it's bad, I usually just give it to the dog or the chicken. Dogs really shouldn't have onions though. So chickens, just give them whatever they want. When I pull them out of the refrigerator, I'll take off the plastic lid, pop them in the oven for 20 minutes on 350. And it's usually the perfect amount. I don't like to use microwaves because the microwave denatures the food. So it messes with the cell membrane. And while I do use microwaves, and sometimes you just have to, right? Because you're just in a hurry. For the most part, I try to do it old school style with heat so that I'm not messing with the cellular makeup of the food. And I just love this recipe, and I hope that you do too. Let me know what you think. Bye-bye.